Hello, and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're making steak with onions and mushrooms. To start with, we're going to cut up a medium onion. Pieces can be as large or small as you like. There really is no set way of doing this. I always keep mine about medium size. Next, you're going to cut up at least 6 large mushrooms. Just slice them down the side, that way you get a good decent piece of mushroom for each cut. You're going to take your onions and add them to a large pan at this point, which you're also going to have oil in. You're going to need at least enough for cooking, so that way your onions will saute in the pan. You're going to want to cook your onions until they start to become translucent, which means at first they'll start to look like they're sweating, then they'll be a little moist looking, and then eventually you're going to reach what the texture is you really want, which is a little bit of see-through, but definitely a flimsy onion that is not too hard and not too crunchy. Chop them up as you mix them because you want to make sure you cook these evenly. Once you get your onions thoroughly cooked, push them a little bit to the side of the pan so that way you can add a piece of beef in. The beef is your choice. You can either go for an expensive steak, which in today's world is not very realistic, or a cheaper cut of beef. Either way, you're still going to get a great effect by adding in the ingredients on the list. We're going to add to your steak some steak seasoning, which is going to be 1 teaspoon. Next, you're going to add garlic and pepper seasoning, again 1 teaspoon. Next, it's adobo seasoning, which you're going to need a teaspoon of that as well. This works really great with beef or chicken or anything you're cooking. Next, you're going to add salt and pepper. This is to taste. You don't have to use a lot of salt or pepper depending on how you like it. If you're on a salt restricted diet, then don't use that much. Flip your steak over because you're going to do this several times as it's grilling. You want to make sure that you actually get it cooked thoroughly. Some people like rare steaks, some like medium well done. You're just going to choose by how you like the steak. This is for you, it's your recipe. Add your mushrooms to the pan, and you're going to let this all cook. Occasionally you're going to flip the mushrooms back and forth and the onions, and then every now and then the steak. You want to make sure you cook evenly on all sides. Once you flip the steak or meat over, you want to actually do a little salt and pepper on the back side of it just to give it a little added. Remember, as your mushrooms are cooking, you want to flip them, even if you have to do just a couple at a time, to make sure each side grills evenly. Because if you do not flip them, you'll have one side that looks like it's done and one that won't. Your goal here as you're flipping your steak is to get the outside at least brown looking. That way you know that it is cooking evenly. So if you have to flip it several times, go for it. As you keep going, you'll notice that your mushrooms will shrink a little bit. That's why, it looked like a lot going in the pan. It won't necessarily be that much when you take it out. Same thing with your onions. Your onions will cook down as you cook the steak. As you're cooking your mushrooms, they will brown a bit. That is normal and acceptable. Once you get your steak to about the level of brown that you want it to look on the outside or cooked through, you're going to use some sesame seed oil. This is going to give you a punch of flavor with your steak and the vegetables that you're cooking with it. It's one of those things where it's going to smell so great while you're cooking, but when you go to eat it, you're going to think, wow, this is a great taste, because it's something different. A lot of people don't always use this. I love it on my steak. And it works really well to give flavor to the mushrooms and the onions as well. So remember, as you're still cooking, to flip your mushrooms around and your onions, and occasionally flip the piece of meat. When you get to the end, you will know when you're done, because everything will look like it's thoroughly cooked through. The onions will definitely look translucent. Mushrooms will have cooked to a point where you know they're cooked. If you look at them, you can tell it. And the meat will be done to your satisfaction. So, like I said, if you want it more rare, then cook it rare. So your final step is just to mix the onions with your mushrooms and thoroughly mix them together. So when they come out and they go with your steak on a plate, you've got them all mixed through. And there you have it, steak with onions and mushrooms. Please remember, if you like this video, to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time on the next video. Thanks for visiting.